What's happening, Saints fans? We got a plethora, a news dump, a massive, massive update around the National Football League. A lot of things that have happened today around the NFL. And so we're going to go one by one and talk about how it impacts the New Orleans Saints, starting off with the playoff seeding. So in case you didn't know, the Detroit Lions, they were being soft for what it's worth, and they proposed that division winners should not get a home game. It should be based on the record. Ian Rapoport, he then reported without the necessary support, the playoff reseeding proposal is off the table, perhaps to be revisited for an 18-game season. So this did not even get voted on. And for what it's worth, this is a good thing for the Saints, and we're going to talk about it here in a second. And I'm going to give you like numbers and stuff to see it, but all in all, I think that this is a win for New Orleans, and maybe it's a little bit of loser talk, being like, well, you know, we stink, and so we won the division, we should still host a home playoff game. Like, sure, that can be true in one side of things. The other part of it can be true that it negatively, or it positively impacts some of the other teams that are much better, like the Chiefs, the Bills, the Eagles. Like, these are teams that aren't necessarily as worried about this rule like the Saints are. And I also, for what it's worth, think it's hilarious that the Lions of all teams propose this, considering they're now a good football team. But I want to just kind of hop in the time machine here real quick. If we take a look back at the last 5 NFC South champions, we will see how this new seeding would have panned out. So in 2024, again, all of these were the Bucs winning the division, F Tampa Bay. In 2024, the new seed would have been the 6th seed. The new seed in 2022, they just would have been out. In 2021, the number 2 seed, the number 4 seed in 2020. It's not the best thing for the top teams in the division because they just like it's less about the division and less about the NFC South, the NFC West, the NFC East. It hurts those teams at the top of the division and at the top of the conference more, but it helps those teams at the bottom. And look, this does benefit the Saints in the NFC South because this rule getting passed could potentially take away some of the value of your divisional games. So think about it this way. You could have a matchup against the Falcons, and it just is an important game. All you have to do is win it. That game doesn't mean more to winning than it does beating the Ravens. Like, it just doesn't make – it's not as big of a win because you're not putting yourself on top of the division to potentially win the NFC South, to potentially be rewarded for winning and get a home playoff game. This doesn't reward the division champions. And I honestly think that it's kind of silly. I would just say, I think when it comes down to winning the division, it should be rewarded. Most sports, at least to some form or fashion or in some way, do get rewarded whenever you win your division or your conference or whatever. So when it comes down to this, for me, I think that this is a thing that keep pushing it off, keep tabling it. Maybe at some point we have this discussion. But all in all, I think that the division rivalries are too important. I think that they provide way too much juice. And I also think that it's just not really something that we should be too worried about. Let's focus on getting to 8 to 9 to 10 wins first. And if you go back in time, remember, it was 8, 9, 10 wins that wins you the division, but maybe 8, 9, 10 wins isn't good enough to get you to the playoffs. So that's kind of the risk to the reward there. Now, for what it's worth, we will be live for every single Saints game, so be sure to subscribe to Saints Now by Chat Sports. We go live throughout the offseason. We went live all 3 days of the NFL Draft. We went live during free agency. We go live every single week on Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central Time, and then we'll be live all preseason games, all regular season games, hopefully all the postseason games, and maybe a Super Bowl run. So subscribe to Saints Now for 100% free content by Saints fans for Saints fans. All right, let's talk about the Olympics. USA, 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 USA. Really good news here. NFL players can start helping out with the Team USA flag football stuff. In case you didn't know, flag football has had a massive gain in popularity across the world, and now NFL owners have officially approved a resolution to allow their players to participate in the Olympics. The 2028 Summer Olympics is when this would start, so you got a handful of years before it happens. No teams voted against this. It's significant. It's pretty cool. I also think this is an interesting point. The NFL version of the Dream Team is coming, so we'd get to see our Madden worlds, or we'd get to see our fantasy football teams come to life, at least from a flag football perspective. in flag football. And in case you are unfamiliar with how Olympic flag football works, it's really exciting. It's really fun. I have had the opportunity to do some videography for some flag football in the past. Really, really exciting stuff. It's a 5-on-5 format, 10-man roster. I think it's 10 people on 5 offense, 5 defense, obviously. You have a quarterback, a center. It's not really a center, but a center, wide receiver, running back, rushers, DBs, and a safety. In terms of how the rules work, the field size, 70 by 25 yards, so a lot smaller than a National Football League field. You have 2 20-minute halves instead of 4 quarters. There's a 2-minute warning in the 2 halves. You also get 4 downs to reach midfield. It's not a first down every 10 yards. You get 4 yards to get halfway, or 4 downs to get halfway, and then 4 yards. Keep messing that up. 4 downs to get halfway, 4 downs to score a touchdown. And you also cannot run the ball within 5 yards of the end zone. So you can still run the football, kind of deep, or if you're trying to get a little bit of yardage to try and throw the ball into the end zone, but you can't do it when you're close to the end zone. And over time, each team will be getting a possession. So when it comes down to the Olympic decision the Olympic discussion, I figured a fun little exercise would be 1, what Saints players could be on the Olympic team, and 2, what is my personal Olympic team? For the Olympic Saints, this might ruffle feathers here. These are current players only. I'm going Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed. These 3 are very obvious here. Sheed, nobody in the league, very few people, I should say, can keep up with him step by step or step for step in terms of the speed aspect. Chris Olave, very underrated speed as well. He also is a very quality receiver. He can control his body in the air. He has all of the skills. Alvin Kamara, a very, very dynamic and good running back, but also receiving back. Justin Reed, I think, could be a really good communicator, and he could hold it down as a defensive back. And I threw Kool-Aid McKinstry in at corner because I think he's an athletic guy who can play some press coverage. And to be totally honest, he's the best cornerback, in my opinion, on the roster. I did almost make a case for Alontae Taylor, but I'm going to go Kool-Aid McKinstry. Alontae Taylor could also, for what it's worth, be a great rusher / DB guy in the middle. Now, for my Olympic team, here's what I would put out. I'm going my quarterback, Lamar Jackson. I want a versatile guy who can run the football when somebody rushes, or he can toss the pill when need be. He can also move around to get some time, make some space and whatnot. Jahmyr Gibbs, I really, really like him. He is the running back that I decided to roll with. I would have made a case for Alvin Kamara, but hey, I went with Jahmyr Gibbs, a little bit younger, might be a little bit more athletic. No shocks around the wide receiver room. Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. We went Malik Neighbors, the LSU legend over here, in case you guys didn't or were unaware of that. He could be a really, really good wide receiver in the National Football League. Alternate I would have made here is A.J. Brown, just a big-bodied possession guy I think would be beneficial. Micah Parsons, I ran with the rusher. I almost went with Fred Warner because I think he could be really good in the middle as well in coverage too. But I also think if you're going to have him just be a pure rusher, Nolan Smith might not be a bad one. Travis Hunter, a versatile guy who can do both, who can play both sides of the football. He'll have a couple years of experience under his belt by the time the Olympics roll around. Pat Surtain, Derek Stingley, also names that I wanted to throw out there. Christian Gonzalez was another name that I also like. He's actually been an ambassador for flag football in the National Football League. I had the opportunity to speak with him in New Orleans during the Super Bowl week. They had a glow-in-the-dark flag football tournament, the first ever of its kind. And it was really, really cool getting to see him, Tyrann Mathieu, Demario Davis, a lot of those guys out there advocating for the game. Daryl Doucette was also out there, the flag football Team USA quarterback that said he was better, that Mahomes couldn't play with him, whatever. Kyle Hamilton, another defensive back that I would have thrown into that conversation as well. So there's just a fun little conversation there. But I want to ask you this. Which Saints players should be on Team USA? I think the 5 that I said is fair. More the 3, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, maybe Alvin Kamara, maybe it's Justin Reed, maybe it's Demario Davis. Could be an interesting one. What do you think? Get down in the comment section. And also, if you guys want to scroll down to the comments and share your thoughts, we have links available for Saints jerseys. Get yours today. Chatsports.com/Saints jerseys. We have home jerseys. We have away jerseys. We have everything in between. If you want some gear for the New Orleans Saints, this is the place to get it. Chatsports.com/Saints jerseys. Men, women, children's sizes, whatever you want, we got you covered. Order it right here. It's nice quality stuff from Fanatics. Chatsports.com/Saints jerseys. Now let's talk about the Tush Push ban, because unfortunately for the Packers, it's not going anywhere. Fortunately for the Eagles and Eagles fans, and to be totally honest, Saints fans, the Tush Push remains alive. Dianna Russini saying that the Packers' proposal to ban the Tush Push did not receive the required 75% support from the NFL owners to pass. So the Tush Push will be back around. For what it's worth, the Saints did vote for the Tush Push. They did not vote against it. They vote to keep it around. And I don't think that's a very surprising thing at all, considering Kellen Moore, he's the Saints head coach. He just won a Super Bowl with the Eagles. They went on and used the Tush Push quite a bit, and they found success there. So I do think that Kellen Moore could potentially try. I don't think he'll succeed off the rip, but he could try to implement the Tush Push in New Orleans. It's something we haven't quite seen yet, at least at a consistent level. And I think that Taysom Hill should have been a big part of that. Unfortunately, he will not be available until late October. The other part of it, too, that I think is interesting is that I think if you have Tyler Shough in there, he is a bigger quarterback. You just have to get the offensive line down. That's really where things and this play is won and lost, is in the trenches. It also helps when Jalen Hurts can squat 600 pounds. So that's why I say Taysom Hill would be perfect in this. So I do expect Kellen Moore to try to implement the Tush Push. For me, I'm indifferent on the play. I understand why people hate it. Like, I'm kind of just like, I get it. Like, I can see both sides of it. Two things can be true. One, it's not a football play. Like, it's not. It's more rugby than anything. It's just not football. It's simply not. If you disagree, that's okay. Let's agree to disagree. You can try and convince me in the comments, but I'm just here to tell you, Tush Push is not football. It's more rugby than anything. But on the other hand, figure out how to stop it. Like, it's kind of a two-way street. One, I don't think it should be penalized so many times that eventually you just get a touchdown, and that's just that. But I also think, like, if it's such a problem, learn how to stop it. Draft guys that in the trenches. Focus on building that thing. Focus on trying to learn how to counter that play. I get both sides of this conversation. One, I hate it. Two, I think it's a good play. It shows off a high football IQ. It's taking advantage of holes in the rule book and gray areas. That's fine. If you can have an advantage, you can find an advantage, then okay. Shame on other teams for not thinking of it first, to be totally honest. Like, I honestly have to ask, do you hate the Tush Push, or do you hate that the Eagles are so good at running it? I think that's the fair thing to ask, because other teams, not that good at it. Now, other news around the National Football League. Two things here. One, there will now be an award for the best offensive lineman. So shout out to Jari Evans. He would have won like 50 of them things. And shout out to Trevor Penning, who will win 50 of them things. That's a joke. Dianna Russini saying also that in terms of special teams, we got an update around there. NFL owners have passed a rule change that would allow teams to declare onside kicks at any point during a game if they are trailing. This is different than what it was in the past, where you could only do it, in the fourth quarter, and it was only if you were down, and it was only like the last 2 minutes or something. It was really weird. It was like oddly specific, and it kind of ruined onside kicks. Onside kicks. That's what we're trying to land on. So this kick will also be from the 34 instead of 35. I don't know how much of an impact that makes, but it does. And there you go. So that's the new rules around the National Football League. A lot of stuff happened. A lot of news that impacts the New Orleans Saints. A lot of news that impacts the entire league. So there you have it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And I want to ask you this question here. If you stuck around, I want to reward you because, fun fact, I talked to the bosses. We are in the process of designing some Saints Now hats. If you would buy one, we don't have a price yet. We don't have a design yet. We're working on it. But it would be a black hat. It would have our Saints Now logo. It would be gold and white, and it would look fresh as hell. If you would buy a hat, just type hat in the comment section. If you wouldn't, either just ignore it or just say I wouldn't buy one. But I just want to see if people are interested in potentially getting some channel merch. This is the first time we've ever had channel merch potentially available for y'all, and I want to see if you guys would be interested in picking up some. Saints fans, thank you all so much for tuning in to today's video. Be sure to subscribe for more updates around the black and gold. As always, my name is Trizzy Trace Gerard. That's producer Loco Lopez. Y'all stay golden, and we'll see you next time.